The purpose of this video is to introduce you to ChemDraw and using it to draw structures. And I'll show you some of the features some really cool stuff you can do. So first of all, here is, when you open it, you'll have an untitled document. Now my recommendation right there is the first thing you do is close that document because there are actually default structures associated with each document type, and the blank document structures are really not that attractive. So I would recommend that you use either ACS or RSC, one of these in these style sheets under File. And so let's go ahead and use ACS. That's my general recommendation, is to use ACS style. Okay, so here we go. Now it says Untitled ACS document. And now the default setting will, whenever you go to open a new document, that will be your file, file type. So this is your palette, your tablet for creating your structures on. The first thing I'm going to do is actually press Control H or go up to Structure and, or wherever it is, View, I guess, Show Crosshair. And I find that these are nice to use because they help you line up structures. And so what you see at the left here, this is the drawing toolbar. So this is how we can use all these templates to have a good start on molecules. So you have lines, we can make double bonds. We have an array of arrows that you can pick out. We have cations and anion symbols. So there's lots of things here. So let's start by drawing ethanol. And so we could do ethanol in two ways. So we will first do a line structure or a skeletal structure. And so we're going to use the line for this. So ethanol has two carbons. So there's one carbon, there's two carbons. So then we need an OH coming off of that hydroxyl group. And all I had to do there was I just had to hover over that atom. And I really could put any group I wanted there. If I press C, I get CH3. If I press R, it'll just put an R group. If I press N, it'll put a nitrogen. And notice how it automatically completes the valence of nitrogen. So it knows that if I'm just have a nitrogen coming off of this this carbon right here, it's going to need two hydrogens if it's a neutral hydrogen atom. So that's really nice. So you don't have to click on this necessarily. You just have to hover over, and you can. Oh, I guess apparently I didn't know that. I just learned something new here. If I hit A, it'll automatically put a benzene ring. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, so there's so many things to know about this, but I'll try to keep to the basics here. So what we're going to do is I just hit O, and it automatically puts a hydroxyl group. So there we go. Now we've drawn ethanol. Let's say we wanted to write the name of this molecule underneath. We can use the text tool to do that. So CH3, or no, that's not what we're doing. We're writing ethanol. And so here is ethanol. And a really useful tool here is the upper left. This is the lasso. And notice that because I just typed that, it automatically selected ethanol. And now I can move this around if I wanted to center it a little bit better underneath the structure. All right, and then water. Let's say, I think water I'm going to draw out like this. And so we're going to put hydrogen, hydrogen, and oxygen right there. And so there's water. So we'll kind of put that lined up, and those crosshairs help us line these two up. Okay, now let's say I want to put a text box there. I could just put another text box right here. But if I wanted to be sure that these ethanol and the water labels were lined up perfectly, I can actually press Control Shift, and then click and drag. And now I know that those are in exactly the same line because I have copied them in line by holding down Control and Shift and using the mouse to drag it over. So now I'm just going to go to text tool, which allows me to edit the text inside, and I'm going to change that to water. Now that Control Shift drag tool works actually in almost any software, so it's actually like we use it in PowerPoint, which is a really useful way of copying objects in line. Okay, so here we go. We have drawn these, and now the next thing to do, and I'm just going to move them over a little bit here. Let's say I actually wanted to do these as condensed structures instead. Well, I can use this once again, and I can write H2O. Oh, that's not H2O. So I put that right here, and I could go and change the subscript. So notice over here we have a text editor, but actually, if I just click this formula, it'll treat it as a formula, and I don't have to go in and individually change the subscripts and superscripts. All right, so now I'm going to do that same operation, Control Shift, make a copy of that, edit the text, and it's still in formula mode now if you look up here. So this is great. So I'm just going to enter in the formula for ethanol, CH3CH2OH. I can't type. All right, so now we have drawn those structures, and I can move them around as I wish. There we go. If I wanted to add lone pairs, for example, to the oxygen, this is not necessary, but suppose I did. I can put in lone pairs, and I can click on oxygen, and it will add them. And sometimes when it comes to putting lone pairs on, you have to move them around manually. And anytime you want to move anything around, really the best tool is the lasso tool. And actually, I can even copy lone pairs to the bottom if I wanted to. So using that same technique, Control Shift and copy. And I could even, let's say I want to put lone pairs on the oxygen on the other hydrogen. I can select that lone pair. And if I want to select the second lone pair at the same time, what I did there, actually it looks like I inadvertently selected this. There we go. Let's try that again. So we'll select that lone pair of electrons and then those two. So now I have those selected. What I did was I selected one and then held down the Shift button and selected the second one. So that allowed me to do this, and so now I should be able to copy these over. So if I just select these two, I can do Control Shift once again and just drag both those bad boys over here. Okay, so got the lone pairs here, and there we go. So that's another nice technique, is to be able to select multiple objects. And so here, let's say I actually wanted to just select that ethanol molecule right there. I can use that lasso tool to just select that. But then, let's say I wanted to also select the water. I can do that, hold down Shift, and then click on water, and now I've selected both of those. And now I could just, if I held down Control, I could just make as many copies as I wanted. Water and ethanol, replicating like crazy. So I'm just hitting Control Z now to get these back. All right, so those are just a few toys. There's so much fun we can have with ChemDraw. So we'll make a benzene ring. We can put groups off of here. Oops. So notice that one didn't go right where I wanted it. I can always do Control Z. There is also an eraser feature. So let's say I wanted to erase this double bond right there. I could click that once and get rid of the double bond. And then I could, if I click this again, I can make a double bond. If I wanted to specifically show the carbon label, I press carbon. And notice how it adds the H automatically, which is really convenient. So I can do the same thing there. Another thing is if you ended up insisting on dragging the structures in this manner, so you end up with something really unattractive like this, a molecule only a mother could love. I can select this. So when I click on the lasso button, it automatically selects the last structure I was editing. And I can go here in structure and either hit Control Shift K or something else, and it will clean up the structure. And so now it restores things to the normal skeletal structure. And let's say that if I wanted this to be wanted this bond to be horizontal, I can rotate, so that I can do this in the structure menu and our object. Oh, I don't even know where it is because the shortcut is Control R, and I can rotate that 30 degrees clockwise to put it horizontal like I wanted it. So many things you can do. Have at it. If you need to put special structures in here, there are a lot more windows you can pick here. This analysis window is very useful. So now, let's say I wanted to know the molecular formula for that. If I select it, it'll automatically calculate it. It'll give me the molecular weight. Hey, this could save you some time on some assignments, perhaps. Here we have C8H10. It automatically calculated that for me using the analysis window. And you can actually have these just here in the background, and once you open them, whenever you open your version of ChemDraw again, they will be there. So you don't have to go and add the toolbar all the time. Another really useful toolbar is the character window, or character map right here. So this is really useful too. Sometimes we need to use alpha and beta or a degree sign. For example, let's say I wanted to add the degree, the boiling point of ethanol in here, right? So 78. And so then I find this right here. There's the degree sign, degrees C, right? So I can put that in there. If I wanted to indicate a bond length, I could say it was bond was 1.45 angstroms, like that. So these are just some examples of all the fun things you can do with ChemDraw.